Hey YouTube, it's ICU, and today, following last month's unveiling of the new 12-inch MacBook with Retina display at Apple's Spring Forward Media event, we have it here in front of us. It was just released, and let's go ahead and unbox it. And before we get into the unboxing portion of this video, for those of you interested in potentially winning a brand new iPhone 6, be sure to visit freeappsfast.com inside of Mobile Safari and sign up, then come back here and rate this video up, and leave a relevant comment down below in the comment section containing your referral code, which is the piece that appears in the fourth tab down below at the bottom after the link. Now with that said, let's go ahead and talk about this all new MacBook. Now it's not a MacBook Pro, it's not a MacBook Air, it's simply Apple's new MacBook. It's 12 inches and it features a Retina display. It kind of falls within the sizes of the lower end MacBook Air and the higher end one being the 11-inch and the 13-inch. And let's quickly talk about some of the innovations in this computer that I'm extremely excited for. First up, the Force Trackpad. Now this was actually featured in the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I did an unboxing of. Essentially, it features Apple's same Taptic engine that will be found in the upcoming Apple Watch underneath what's essentially a glass surface with pressure sensors. From there, it's able to actually determine when you're putting pressure onto the glass itself and then provide feedback and actually click without physically clicking like a normal trackpad would. And as far as the keyboard is concerned, instead of the traditional scissor mechanism underneath the keys, Apple invented an all-new butterfly mechanism that's supposed to make the keyboard thinner overall while still providing some good feedback. It's also Apple's thinnest and lightest MacBook yet, but that's not to say that it's the thinnest and lightest laptop in the world, because it's definitely not. But we're not focused on other laptops. We're focused on the all-new MacBook, and there definitely are some compromises, and they will become evident as I start to go over this laptop. But let's go ahead and get into the unboxing portion of this video. Starting off with the box itself, let's take a look at it. On the front, we simply have a picture of the new MacBook. It looks pretty thin, and on either side, it's written MacBook, and it has the Apple logo, instead of having the Apple logos dedicated to either the left and the right-hand side, which are completely blank on this box. And on the back, we have the specs listed, so let's go over those now. Again, this is Apple's 12-inch MacBook, so it features a 12-inch display measuring diagonally. It's LED backlit with a high resolution, again, it is a Retina display of 2304 by 1440, and it's powered by a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core M processor with turbo boost up to 2.6 gigahertz. So unfortunately, this isn't one of the better processors in Apple's MacBook lineups, but because it is Intel's M series, it's significantly more power efficient, which in turn means that it doesn't require a dedicated cooling system, so this laptop is fanless. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of onboard flash storage, and it does have Intel's HD Graphics 5300, and it has a single USB-C port, and that's the only port on this computer aside from a headphone jack, and it has 802.11 AC Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0, and finally a FaceTime camera. Not a FaceTime HD camera though, this is just a 480p camera. Unfortunately, that's probably one of the compromises that Apple had to make to get this laptop as thin as it is. Alright, now that we have some of the specs out of the way, using my knife, let's get into the unboxing portion by cutting through some of the plastic that's protecting it. Alright, and with the plastic off of it, lifting the lid will reveal the MacBook sitting directly on top. Alright, so as you can see, this MacBook is significantly different than any other MacBook in the sense that it is space gray. So for those of you who didn't know, Apple's new MacBook is available in 3 colors. The traditional aluminum that you'll find most MacBooks are made from, as well as 2 anodized options. We have the space gray as well as the gold. I opted to go with the space gray because I simply think it looks better, and setting the MacBook off to the side here, we have a couple of things underneath. So starting off with this bottom piece, we have a USB-C cable. Let's get a close-up of this really quick. Now, unlike other Apple MacBooks, the charger is not MagSafe, it's not proprietary, it's USB-C, the new standard. So this is a significantly more compact port, and you'll start to see other computers, laptops, as well as even post-PC devices implement this new USB Type-C connector. It's significantly smaller than a traditional USB 3 style, and it is capable of delivering power as well as data. So this single cable is how you'll charge the MacBook as well as connect peripherals if you can find adapters or if they happen to include support for USB Type-C. And some would say that having only one port is a drawback, and in certain cases I definitely agree. However, we're going to discuss that more when we actually go over the design of this new MacBook. So let's actually set it off to the side and return to the box here. So at the top beneath this envelope we'll have the charging brick. As you can see, this is where you'll plug the USB Type-C connector into to actually charge the MacBook. And then from here you can swap this out, and if you buy it outside of the US it will come shipped with the correct one, and you can also buy adapters if you travel. Now let's return to this little booklet here, and we're going to get a close-up of this and its contents. So opening it up here on the top, we just have a quick start guide that says MacBook, and it goes over some of the basics of the computer. We have a MacBook info sheet, nothing really too important here, 2 gray Apple logo stickers, and that's it. We don't have a microfiber cleaning cloth like Apple includes with the MacBook Pro models. And now let's return to the star of this video, the new MacBook. So it is protected by some plastic wrap here that we're going to take off. The new Space Gray looks absolutely amazing, or I shouldn't say completely new, but rather new to Apple's MacBook lineup, because as you can see here with the iPad Air 2, it's also Space Gray. And as I start to zoom out here, one thing that will become immediately apparent, aside from how thin it is how gorgeous this new MacBook actually is. And again, because we only have that one USB Type-C port, the sides are left mostly unobstructed. And switching to a darker background here so that you can better see the Space Gray MacBook, you'll notice that on the right-hand side, we simply have a headphone jack port as well as the microphones. Of course, they're noise canceling, and flipping it over here, we have the USB-C port on the other side. And again, this is how you'll charge it as well as connect peripherals. As of now, you will need adapters for basically everything. So lifting the lid here, we're going to remove the piece that's protecting the display and then power it on. And to do that, we need simply press the power button up in the right-hand corner of the keyboard. And now we have an Apple logo with a progress bar, and we should be at the OS X setup menu relatively soon. So as you can see, that was extremely fast, likely thanks to the onboard flash storage. Now I'm going to go through the quick setup process, and I'll be right back. All right, and there we go. The computer is finally done, and the reason why I say finally is because it actually started to hang for quite a while, and I had to reboot it and set up a completely different account. So unfortunately, the processor in this computer definitely seems to be its downfall, but it is the future of laptops. There are so many different innovations into this computer that make it as thin as it is, and I personally think it's actually going to be a great laptop for some individuals. If you're not a heavy power user, then you might like this computer. And with that being said, 2 other things actually stood out to me. Number 1, I do not like the keyboard as is. Maybe I'll get used to it, who knows, but essentially the keys are so thin and shallow that it almost feels weird typing on them. It definitely doesn't feel like a regular keyboard, but again, they are extremely thin and they don't have much give to them, but maybe I'll become accustomed to it after using it for a while, who knows. And number 2 is the trackpad, which actually feels better than the trackpad on the 13-inch 2015 MacBook Pro, which is definitely saying something because it's supposed to be the same trackpad. And I think the reason for that is just how thin this MacBook truly is, and because of that, it's more noticeable because the vibrations don't have as much metal to actually travel through. So as I mentioned before, it doesn't physically move down when you click on it. It doesn't have the traditional diving style, and it's fully customizable via OS X system preferences menu for it. So you can control the level of feedback that you actually get, as well as a few other options. And another design aspect that I briefly wanted to go over before we get into some benchmark tests is the actual intersection of this laptop. So as you can see, the keyboard itself spans all the way to the edges. I definitely like this. It doesn't have much of a bezel, and we have the actual speakers up here toward the top, and because it is fanless, again, it's not very thick at all, and we don't have any sort of fans lining the back here before the display at the hinge. So this is definitely a good design improvement in my opinion, and it takes great advantage of the device's overall real estate. And going to the Apple menu followed by About This Mac will reveal the specs so that we can refresh before running the benchmark benchmarks. Again, the new 12-inch MacBook with Retina display, early 2015, powered by a 1.2 GHz Intel Core M processor. At least they didn't include 4 GB of RAM like what the base is on the MacBook Air, and the integrated Intel HD graphics 5300. And up first, let's start with the one that will be the most impressive of these two benchmark tests, being Blackmagic Disk Speed Test. So essentially what this will do is write a file to the internal flash storage and in turn read it to essentially assess how fast the computer writes and reads files. So we do have a pretty good score. It doesn't really compare to the 2015 MacBook Air and MacBook Pro. However, we have a write speed of around 446 to 450 megabytes per second and a write speed of up to 760 some odd megabytes per second. So overall, relatively good, pretty decent, and you'll definitely get some fast performance. And if you're not used to flash storage, this computer will blow you away as far as how fast it's able to turn on and again read and write and copy over files. And now next, we're going to use a tool called NovaBench, which takes into consideration a number of various factors of a computer to give you one generalized number that's a cumulative score of your computer's capabilities. So speeding through the test here, let's see the results we get on this Intel M series powered laptop. And overall, we have a total score of 551 inside of NovaBench. Definitely not great, with the Achilles heel definitely being the CPU test, so that M processor. So let's go ahead and close out of this and go over one more thing before we actually conclude this video. Again, being the USB-C port that's over here on the left-hand side. Remember, this is for charging, data transfer, and connecting any and all peripherals. Now, Apple doesn't really intend for you to connect to this computer as much as you might imagine. On their actual site itself, they say that it's a laptop fully equipped for a wireless world, and they definitely mean it. They want you to make use of things like AirDrop, which is their proprietary tech for transferring files between two different Macs, or Mac and iOS, or of course, iOS and iOS. So in theory, you'll do most of your transfers wirelessly, at least that's what Apple hopes, and they included this port kind of as an afterthought. I definitely wish they would have included something else, but seeing as how thin it is, I don't really see how that's possible, because if you look at the port, you can definitely tell that there isn't much excess room on the top or on the bottom there. And also really quick, the actual USB-C cable itself is fully reversible, meaning you can plug it in one way and it'll work, and you can actually flip it around the other way and plug it in and it'll work. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people will really enjoy. All right, and that concludes this unboxing and quick review of the new Retina 12-inch MacBook. I hope you guys liked it. Again, be sure to rate it up if you did, and don't forget to enter the giveaway as soon as possible by leaving a relevant comment containing your free apps fast referral code. If you guys want to be updated more often, such as when I release new videos covering the new MacBook, as well as things like iOS and jailbreaking, don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.